Hello there, my name is Ida Andersen Lang, as you might know, and welcome to the Drawing TV of today. Yeah, some while ago I got a really nice question from one of my followers, we can say. It's a really key question that I'm going to talk about briefly today. The question is, why is it so hard to draw hands? Or it could be the same question about faces or people or maybe animals, complex, poses of your favorite animal faces. In basic, all things that has eyes and ears and nose and hands or claws or paws or pawns, I think it's called. Yeah, so all the four-legged or maybe two-legged creatures on Earth. Why is it so hard to draw? Why is it so, why is it, why does it feel so wrong? If, just something slightly out of place, it really hits your eyes and it's so hard to get it right. So I could talk about this for an hour. It's a very big subject and it's a very important one. But there are two things I'm going to point out that you can think about when you try to draw animals, faces, hands, features of the four-legged or two-legged kind. The one is that I think, that's my thought, but I think it's right. I've heard other people say the same thing, that we are genetically so connected to each other, to viewing and judging and assessing other people and animals, that it's so precise what we have in our memories about how those kinds of creatures should look, all kinds of moving creatures really, that if just the slightest thing is out of way, we notice it immediately and kind of reacts to it. There's something different. We just know, both when we see other people's drawings of creatures, persons, humans, whatever we want to call them, or our own, you can sit there drawing and you can just tell that something is wrong. And it's a whole different experience than drawing trees and flowers. We can say that, for example, trees and flowers and all the botanical world is much more free growing in a way. Of course, there's a lot of precision to how a flower develops and all that, but all in all, we are not as closely connected to it genetically. So I think that there's a lot more freedom in drawing the plant world, for example. You can get away with a lot of small adjustments and, getaways, deviations from how your reference looks. And the same could be said about houses or landscapes or whatever. No one knows where that mountain was where you were watching it. If you are drawing a landscape with some mountains, it's a whole different thing. But faces and hands and features of the two and four-legged kind, that's a whole different story. So bear that in mind, that it's a daunting subject area in that sense that everybody, including yourself, can judge it on the spot immediately if something is wrong. And that's very demanding. And that leads us to the second thing, which is that because you have all that stored memory of how these things should look, when you try to draw them, if you are not very keen and very aware and very trained in drawing, things can easily go wrong because you draw more what you have stored in your memory about these things, which has nothing to do with drawing them. It has more to do with navigating the world, and it's kind of schematic, we can say, like some default memory about different parts of animals and humans. And then when you start drawing, instead of drawing exactly what you see, you draw from memory and you don't even know. And it can be very hard to get away from it. So, in that sense, we can say that to be able to draw people and animals well, you have to train your drawing a lot, both freehand and with measuring devices, so you can get, so you can build up your skills. And especially, you need to train yourself in drawing in a non-judgmental way, which means that you really see the forms, however odd they look, on that person or animal from that precise angle that you see. And that is that you draw forms. And then we come back to what I always say, that form is the basis. That you draw the forms of the person or animal with great, what can we say, neutrality to what you already know. And that is something that takes training. So, for example, just one example, noses are always tricky because you have some kind of default memory of noses, and somehow what happens is sometimes your brain tries to, more than your hand tries to draw the nose seen from all angles. So, for example, the nostrils get much more attention than they should, and gets more round, and the whole thing is just, it gets too much somehow. It's just a classic example, because we are pretty used to looking at noses, right? Because we look at noses every time we look at another person. Same goes for eyes and ears and so on and so on. So these two things you have to bear in mind, that first of all, we judge drawings of people and animals super hard. It's just in our blood, it's just in our genes. At least I think so. Because there are all kinds of things connected to that judgment out in the real world, in surviving and all that. And the second thing is that you really have to train your mind to draw without judgment, that you really try to remember to see what you see without naming ears, eyes, and so on, and drawing on memory, and really try to analyze what exactly is it that you see. As you can see, this is a large, huge subject that I spend a lot of time on in my art school, and we can only touch on it here. But this is the very, very, very basic explanation of why is it so hard to draw hands, heads, animals, people, faces, and all that. So with that, I'm going to leave you, and I hope that it could spark a little bit of light, shed a little bit of light on that question. Have a very nice day, and I'll see you for the next Drawing TV.